The Adventure of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Longman Simplified in the series. Read by Utchara Boonterd.
Chapter 3 Joys and Sorrows. Tom stood before Aunt Polly. The soft summer air, the restful quiet, the scent of flowers, the sleepy murmur of the bees had the effect, and she was nodding in her armchair. Her spectacles were up on her grey hat for safety. She thought that Tom had deserted long ago, and she wondered to see him place himself in her powder again in this bold way. "May I go out and play now, Auntie?" she said. "Oh, really? How much have you done?" "It's all done, Auntie." "Tom, don't lie to me. I hate lies." "I'm not lying, Auntie. It is all done." Aunt Polly could hardly believe this, and went out to see for himself. She would have been content to find a quarter of Tom's statement true. When she found the entire face with whitewash, and not only whitewash, but carefully coated and recoated, she gasped with astonishment. "Well, I never! I must say you can't work when you try, Tom. But it's seldom that you do try. Well, run along and play." She was so astonished at Tom's performance that she took him to the cupboard and picked out the finest apple for him. He danced out into the garden and saw sin. In a moment the air was full of lumps of earth. They flew round his ears, and before Aunt Polly could come to the rescue, 6 or 7 had hit him, and Tom was over the fence and gone. There was a gate, but generally he was too short of time to make use of this. He was satisfied, since he had punished Sin for calling attention to the black dress and getting him into trouble. As he was passing the house where Jeff Thatcher lived, he saw a new girl in the garden. She was a lovely little blue-eyed angel with 2 long tails of yellow hair. At once a girl called Amy Lawrence vanished completely out of Tom's heart. He worshipped this new angel till he saw that she had discovered him. Then he pretended that he did not know she was present, and began to act in all sorts of silly boyish ways in order to win her admiration, while he was in the midst of some dangerous tricks. He glanced aside and saw that the little girl was going towards the house. Tom came up to the fence and leaned on it, hoping that she would wait a little longer. Tom saw that she put her foot on the doorstep, but his face lit up at once, for she threw a rose over the fence just before she disappeared. The boy ran round, picked up this treasure, and buttoned it inside his coat next to his heart, or next to the stomach, possible. He was not quite sure where the one began and the other ended. All through supper he was so kind that his aunt wondered why. She scolded him for throwing lumps of earth at Sin, but he did not seem to mind in the least. He tried to steal sugar under his aunt's very nose, and got a tap on his fingers with a spoon. "Aunt, you don't hit Sin when he takes sugar," he said. "Well, Sin doesn't worry me as you do. You would be always stealing sugar if I didn't watch you." Sin smiled in the self-satisfied way, and when the old lady went into the kitchen, he reached for the sugar basin, but his fingers slipped, and the basin dropped and broke. Now it was Tom's turn to smile, but he controlled his tongue and kept silent. He said, to himself that he would not say a word, even when his aunt came in, but would sit perfectly still till he asked who had broke the basin. Then he and this would be delightful to see that model boy get a good beating. He was so wild with joy that he could hardly keep still. When the old lady came back and stood above the broken piece, looking angry over her spectacles, he said to himself, "Now she's going to his sin," and the next instant he was flat on the floor. Her palm was uplifted to strike again, when Tom cried out, "Hi, why are you hitting me?" Sin broke it. Aunt Polly paused, puzzled, as Tom looked at her for hearing pity. But when she had discovered from her surprise, he only said, well, I'm sure you deserved it. No doubt you were in some mischief while I was in the kitchen." Then her conscience pricked her, and she longed to say something kind and loving, but she guessed that this would be taken as a confession that he had been in the wrong, and this Chaplain forbade that. So he kept silent and went about her homework with a troubled heart. Tom sat gloomily in a corner and nursed his sorrows. He knew through tearful eyes that he glanced tenderly at him now and again, asking for forgiveness, but he refused to take any notice. He imagined himself lying on his deathbed, and his aunt bending over him, searching for one little forgiving word, but he would turn his face to the wall and die without saying that word. How would he feel then? And he imagined himself brought home from the river, dead, with his clothes all wet, and his poor hands still forever, and his broken heart and rest. She would throw herself upon him, and her tears would fall like rain. She would pray God to give her back her boy, and promise she would never, never ill-treat him any more. But he would lie there, cold and pray, and make no sign. Poor little suffered. He was so affected by these visions that he had to keep on swallowing. His eyes swam in tears which overflowed and ran down from the end of his nose. He was enjoying his sorrow so much that any cheerfulness was unwelcome. When his cousin Mary danced in, delighted to be home again after a week's visit to the country, he got up and moved in clouds and darkness out at one door as she brought song and shiny in the other. His unhappy heart sighed to be alone, and so he wandered far away from the place where boys usually met. A lord ref on the river invited him. He sat down on this hour jet gazed at the wide river, which was that he could be crowded at once without suffering the usual penalties. Not long after, as Tom was undressing for bed, Sin woke up. He said nothing. He knew from the expression on Tom's face that it would be unwise to ask him any questions. Tom got into bed without saying his prayers, and Sin made a note of his bed behavior